another human element, I got to know this. Playing in New York, and we've seen people talk about the pressures of playing in a big market. You're going into the Lions' Den. You're going into a place where they are going to glorify you if you do well. They're going to let you know if they think you are stinking up the joint. So do you have any moments that you can remember there of the good and bad with New York? And also, secondly, how did you handle pressure?
Well, I think every good player will tell you they put more pressure on themselves than any fan can put on them. That is absolutely true. That being said, if it gets so bad that you are playing awful, you know you're playing awful, but you also give yourself a little bit of grace. You can give yourself a little bit of a, hey, I'm working through it. I know my back's been sore and my wrist's been sore, so I know that once I get healthy, I'll be fine. Like, you can kind of have that inner dialogue that makes you feel better. The fans are still booing you, though. That's the tough part about New York, is that I've heard Derek Jeter get booed. I've heard Aaron Judge get booed. Like, the last two captains have gotten booed. So I'm definitely getting booed at some point, right? I think that it's great for certain guys because it keeps you motivated. You see players that you've never heard of. Like, as a casual baseball fan, you've never heard of this player. They go to New York and they become an all-star because that pressure from the fans actually makes them a better player. They focus more. 162 games, even if they focus for 20 more games, that's a good season and a bad season, or a good season and a great season, right? So it can really help you. It can crush other players. There's other players that have gotten traded or signed with the Yankees, and this is not a good fit. Like, I could tell right away, this is not a good fit from a personality standpoint, just from the way that they handle the pressure, whether it's from the fans or the media. For me, when it was good, it was really, really good, and I absolutely loved it. When it was bad, my saving grace was my family. That I could go home when I was an 0 for 15 in New York was really tough, especially if you're losing. If you're winning, they can take the 0 for 15. But if you go for 15 in a series and you get swept, you're getting booed in game 3. There's no doubt. I was blessed that I had a wife and kids that loved me enough that when I got home, I could get away for that half of the day. And so, for me, my faith really helped me. My Lord and Savior Jesus Christ does not care if I go 0 for 4 or 4 for 4. He doesn't. And that really helped me get through tough times in New York when I was not playing well.
Yeah, you got to find something to be able to reset your mind, be at peace, right? And that's the human element side of it. You mentioned, Derek Jeter, Aaron Judge. I mean, Judge with the playoff struggles, right? Fans let him know, but they also then cheered him when he was the MVP type player, pushing for records there and being being the face of the franchise. After then it was Derek. I'm curious because at that time with those teams, you were on the Yanks then with Derek and A-Rod and two guys. Like, there was star power there and the criticisms were heavy. Is there anything that you saw from Derek even specifically, because he's the one that's dealt with it? I never saw him waver, even when I was a kid and watching him through any good or bad. Do you remember any moments like that kind of stood out to you that really impressed you with him?
Derek is the most consistent player that I've ever been around. And I'm not talking about consistency in performance. I'm talking about consistency in character, in attitude, in the way he handles himself. There are certain players, you've been around them, Ryan, that when they go for 4 for 4, they're the most jovial guy in the locker room. And then they go for 4 with a couple of Ks. You don't want to talk to them because they're the worst guy to be around. I mean, Derek was so consistent, and he had to be. He's kind of a throwback. He wasn't flashy, although he was good looking and talented and all the things in New York. Like, he wasn't a flashy guy. He wasn't somebody, even though he was kind of before the Twitter era. He would not have been a Twitter guy, right? He would have not have been a guy that self-promoted all the time. And his consistency of preparation, he did the exact same thing every day. His batting stance never changed. His swing path never changed. The way that he took ground balls before the game never changed. And you might say, oh, well, if he would have adjusted something, he had an amazing career, one of the greatest careers in the history of baseball. And it was because he was consistent every single day. He knew who he was, great teammate. And I used to tell young players, they come in spring training, whether it was a guy that got traded or a young kid coming up, I'd be like, just watch Derek. Watch what he does.
Yeah.
And if you have any questions, go ask Derek. And that was a piece of advice that Tino Martinez gave me. Tino was working around the team as a special assistant my first year with the Yankees, and I had played against Tino for years. So we had a good rapport being two first basemen. We had dinner one night in Tampa in spring training, my first year in 2009 with the Yankees, and he said, just follow Derek. It'll make your life so much easier. And I tried as best as I could, but dealing with the media, dealing with fans, dealing with the ups and downs, Steinbrenner family, all the things you have to deal with the Yankees, he was the best at it.
Certainly was. And the reason I bring that up is I could never tell when it was good or bad. I could never tell what was up with Derek. And that's a good thing.